YouTube is such a valuable asset out there when it comes to podcasting. There are so many different things that you have to learn about YouTube and then keep practicing them to try to get ahead.
On cam ready in 3, 2, 1.
YouTube isn't just a video app. It's officially one of the most watched screen experiences in the world. More people watched it in the US in their homes than any other platform. It's ahead of Netflix, Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime, making YouTube the #1 place people turn for video content and audio-visual storytelling. That's why what we do here matters, because attention isn't earned on the sidelines. It's earned in places where people actually watch and engage. Today's guest has been helping shape that world long before it was cool to be a creator. John Wordock is a podcasting pioneer. He's also a veteran legacy media expert and digital audio expert. John helped build Wall Street Journal podcasts. He grew its audience by 2,000% and later served as executive editor and SVP of podcasting at Westwood One, leading 50 shows onto Apple's charts, the most in company's history. His career spans Bloomberg Television, Wall Street Journal, MarketWatch, and some of the biggest brands in audio storytelling, giving him a rare perspective of both traditional journalism and modern media growth. Whether you're creating a podcast or YouTube show or building authority as a thought leader, John's insight bridges the worlds of news, strategy, and visibility. Let's get to it. John, thanks for joining us.
Sure. Glad to be here.
So I introduced you a little bit in the beginning, but I would love for you to expand on your own journey. You know, you started off and you were unknown, and then you became more known within your niche. And I would love for you to share a little bit more about where you come from and who you are as a creator.
Oh, sure. Would love to do that. I have been blessed because I have always loved storytelling. And when I was a kid, I was born in New Jersey, grew up in Maine. And I loved getting out, and I'm going to sound old here, a record player. And I used to put on the record, and I had a tape recorder. And I used to have 3x5 cards, and I would get the local newspaper and write down the sports scores and the weather report. So I would play music into my tape recorder, and they'd come on and do a news update as a kid. And this is like 10, 11 years old.
I love that.
My mom, God bless her soul, kept my 3x5 cards, and I have them in a bag upstairs. And so you can see what I was thinking about and what I was, who I was covering. And that's really where it started. The art of storytelling is also a passion. And I started in radio in high school. And I grew up in Portland, Maine. I was lucky. One of my friends, his dad owned some stations up there, an AM station, which was sports, and an FM station, which was hit music. And one day, Jay said, my dad says, if you want to drop by, you can pick up some work. And I'm like, sure. And meanwhile, I can't drive a car, right? So I'm like, okay. And the buses, they're not running at night that far out. And so my mom would have to come pick me up and transport me. And the great thing about growing up in Maine is great quality of life. And I would do these updates, and I would tell her, Mom, at 10:54, you're going to hear me read the weather report. This is at night, 10:54 p.m. That means come get me. Okay. So, and then that was I was 16, 17 years old. Yep. And so I started doing radio at such a young age. And I have, at the end of the day, I feel blessed that I've done all these things. I did radio for 25 years. I've been in podcasting since 2006, when no one knew what the hell a podcast was, right? And then I had 6 years at Bloomberg TV, where I got to interview all sorts of CEOs and senators and all sorts of cool stuff. And right now in my life, I'm living this multimedia mashup where I've had the television work, I've had the radio work, I've had the podcast work, and now look, we're doing a podcast on video, right? It's It's everything, right? So
It
we have this
is.
mashup situation now.
You're also an expert in YouTube, so we'll make sure we get to that in this conversation. I
Okay.
have to relate though to your story. So when I was 10 or 11, I got this little tape recorder, cassette tapes, guys, and it had a microphone. And I would sing into it because I sang a lot. I talked a lot. I made voices like, was that made out of wood? Like, like coming up with weird voices.
Uh,
And my mom got it so I could record myself. And I started to go around and interview people. And I would try to mimic Diane Sawyer and those on the news when I was a kid because that's all my mom would play in the morning. It was
mhm,
news with breakfast always. And when I got to be in high school at 14, we had this in eighth grade, we had this TV morning show, and you had to go to school early. And I would produce content and I would anchor, and it would air on the local news for everybody.
mhm,
And I felt like because of that, I only saw myself ever going into, news or TV. And even though I was a performer, it was always like, nah, I want to be more like
mhm.
I want to know more about the world and life and explore and talk to people. So it's interesting how our childhoods, both of us being so young, kind of stuck with us. We really did in a way stick with what we wanted to be when we grew up, kind of.
Yeah, and I think that is so important. Now and then I get invited to talk to students as, you know, at functions or schools or whatever, give advice. And I always tell them, to follow your passion. What gets you up in the morning? What keeps you going throughout the day? At the end of the day, you're going to be tired, but what's your sense of accomplishment from what you've done? And if you can piece together all those elements, you're going to succeed at whatever you do, whether you want to be
Yes.
a lawyer or a doctor or a journalist or a YouTuber, whatever, right?
Mhm.
Because you're gonna put a lot of time in, and you gotta feel like you're getting something back.
Yeah. And, guys, it's really important, and I say this often, to be showing up on camera, especially if you're a thought leader. And there's many ways to do that. You can show up online as a newsletter writer. You could be showing up in social media feeds, on YouTube, in a podcast. I think it's important that you realize when you are really committed to your message and you have that thought leadership, that you structure it in a way that you can connect with people. And that's how John and I met. I was showing up on Substack, he was showing up on Substack, and we connected there. And recently, I had posted that I was going to Podfest. He had posted he was going to Podfest. And then we actually met in real freaking life. Oh, this is one of the photos. But John, how cool was that? Like, you were sitting in that chair. I walked into the room and you're like, Jamie. I was like, huh?
Yes. It was cool. It really was because I gotta tell you, I'm on too many social media platforms. I'm on Substack and Blue Sky, Threads,
Yeah.
X, and I just happened to see your post in front of the big Podfest sign. I'm a signage guy. Whenever I go to conferences to speak or what, I'm hamming it up, right? I got photos that go back years. So I saw that your photo caught my attention, and then it's like, oh, let's talk. So I wanted to meet you because you have been doing a lot of the stuff that I'm also doing, right? I take it from maybe the audio perspective or, the radio background. You're more the TV, but then I've also got the TV. So it's like, and then, it's all about video now, right?
It is.
And so it was, you were one of the people. I'm happy we got together and we
Me
talked.
too.
And it's like, oh my God, in real life, what a concept, right? Wow. Yeah.
IRL, guys,
Yes.
IRL.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so cool. And I have to say, your talk at Podfest, let's just go there, was so good that I really wanted to make sure we had this conversation here. And guys, he shared all about YouTube. And if you are thinking about starting a YouTube channel or you have a podcast and now you want to be on YouTube, we're going to offer some tips to help you start. I will definitely, before this is all over, make sure to tell you about the lights and mics and things you need to look on camera ready. But John, why don't we start with some of the details that you shared and that you had collected about YouTube? Like, what do people need to know most?
Sure. Just so everyone knows, when I was at the Cumulus Podcast Network in Westwood One, very early on in 2021, we started working with YouTube in a formal arrangement because YouTube was trying to go big on podcasts. And Cumulus has all this audience data out there about, how do people consume podcasts? And we saw that YouTube was growing and growing and growing. So we did a deal with them. So I feel like I've benefited from almost, yeah, just about 5 years of different podcast tactics and so on. And what I did was uh, put together this slide presentation called Building a YouTube Channel, No Hammer Required, right? Trying to get a little humor in there. But some of the key things that people need to know, and I counsel a lot of people. I have clients who have more than 1 million subscribers, and I have smaller channels. At the end of the day, it's about you.
Hmm.
Authenticity was, I think, the big buzzword of 2025, and I think that's going to continue. And that is because of video. Video makes it real. It shows real life, but it also shows blemishes. And I think that's the beauty of YouTube. When you're doing a podcast in video form, you see everything. You see the reactions of the guests to the questions. It's reality, right? You
Hmm.
can't hide. I'm an audio guy. I love audio. I love radio. And I'm fortunate I'll be working at big station WTOP in Washington, a monster station, number one in Washington, D.C. And there's absolutely nothing going on in Washington. So,
It'll
I
be
jest,
boring.
but yeah, kind of boring. But
Totally boring.
um, I'm going to be doing video too. So it's cool because this is where we are. And what I would recommend to people, if I only had 30 seconds with them, I would say, come up with your mission. What is your mission for your YouTube channel? There's so many of them out there. What are you going to do and how are you going to do it? Are you going to do full length video? And video can be expensive to edit and time consuming to edit. Um, maybe you just do clips. Maybe you just do shorts. Maybe you intersperse audio with video. You can do that. And YouTube is
Mhm.
working on some things to use video to help audio. So you got to figure all that out before you just go off and start a YouTube channel. What are you going to do?
Yes.
You know, and how are you going to distinguish it from all the others out there?
So true. And I think that the point he's making here, guys, is also very similar to what we're constantly saying. Like, you really need to fine tune who you are, who you're talking to, and how you plan to serve them. You also need to know what's the transformation they're going to get from your content. And as we're saying with this video specifically, we're going to give you tips on how to effectively and strategically start a YouTube channel that can benefit you as a personal brand, as a business, however. And, John, when you were sharing your slides, it was also really good to see as someone who's been creating in the YouTube space that I was like kind of right on some points. It's that assurance. You're like, okay, I'm onto something. And he's like clearly confirming that what I'm seeing is accurate. And, whenever people ask me about starting a YouTube channel, I constantly tell them, if you want to grow, you really need to be consistent. And
Hmm.
consistency can be a variety of things. My sister-in-law, she just posted one video and it went 46,000 views. Why? Because it was so niche specific and she was really good with her SEO and it just caught, right?
Yep.
That is hard to do every time. And I'm always telling people you need to be very specific with your niche and also kind of know what your headline might be
Hmm.
before you even create.
Yep.
Would you mind sharing some of your, like, maybe your first 5 tips or steps that you tell people before
Sure.
they start creating?
Sure. What I would say is, and I have these over here written down,
Hmm.
mastering the basics, have a well-defined channel mission, timely keywords for videos and your channel. Make sure that you are going in and you can do this under settings and go to channel and add your keywords. Make sure you're populating that properly.
Mm.
If you are doing a YouTube channel about collecting baseball cards, that should be full. of references to all the famous people out there who played baseball over the years. You got to think like that. And then if there's a big story that develops in baseball, update your keywords so you stay timely, right?
Mhm.
That's for your channel because if someone is out there searching, that's going to help with discoverability. You should also find out who else is out there, right? And add them to your keywords because if someone searches for one of your competitors, maybe you'll pop into the search as well. So there are little tactics like that. Make sure you always figure out how to hook someone in the first few seconds, whether you're making shorts or whether you're starting a longer interview. With YouTube, I call it the land of the short attention span.
Mhm.
Unlike audio, which is more engaging when you're listening on Spotify or Apple, maybe you're going for a walk and, you're taking the dog out there, or maybe
Mhm.
you are on a train or a plane. You're sort of like, here I am, I'm listening. It seems like on YouTube, there's more activity to move on to the next thing, probably because there's so much content and it's easy
Mm.
to do that. So that hook, you need to ask a question. You need to talk about something that's spicy, something that's going to get the viewer's attention within a matter of
Mhm.
seconds. Or guess what? They're gone, right?
Yeah.
So eye-tempting titles and thumbnails too, very, very important. And there are a number of different places that you can use to generate titles and thumbnails for creating the best and then running them through using an AI program to look at these things. Some of them include vidIQ and TubeBuddy. I also like using Pod SEO. I will take whatever I find about the audio version and then apply it to the video version because it
Mm.
helps turbocharge your keywords. And then you put all that together and you figure out, okay, who am I then targeting? So,
Mhm.
what kind of content are you going to put out there? I'm a big fan of heroes, how to, and then headlines,
Mhm.
the three H's. How to. How many times have we gone to YouTube to look at how to fix something in the house or, what is this person? Maybe there's a problem with your car or something. It's like making a certain noise. I'm going to go on YouTube to search,
Yeah.
right? How to is so important. And so you got to keep these things in mind as you're going about building out your content. And the last thing I would say is keep in mind, think about how people are going to consume you. So a lot of YouTube consumption is on phones now. Some of my clients I've worked with, 50%, easily 50 to 70% mobile device consumption. And then another part of that could be smart TVs. With the rise of smart TVs
Mhm.
now, we all seem to have smart TVs. 3/4 of America seems to own a smart TV. Uh, you got to think of your content and how you're going to position it. So use your spotlight position at the top of your YouTube channel to promote your most recent content. So when someone's on their phone, they see your banner image at the top, and then they
Mm.
see uh, your most recent piece of content at the top there.
I love those tips. And guys, there's so many ways that you can flesh out your YouTube channel and really identify the SEO. I do use vidIQ and I share about it here. Check out my Think Like a Producer Daily. I kind of go through and show behind the scenes of what I'm doing to help you guys with vidIQ and just show you what it's like. But yeah, I do think you're right in the sense of layering in all the right keywords and knowing your competition so that you can target them with your content so when people search for them, they can find you. But the one thing that I find some they're not clients of mine, but when I'm searching around on YouTube, I find that there's these channels where people are posting every single week and they are very niche specific, yet they're not growing. I mean,
Mhm.
what tips would you have for people who, they're doing all the right things, it's just not going anywhere?
Yeah. Oh, there are a lot of channels out there. There
Tons.
are large channels that are no longer growing.
Mhm.
What I would recommend is do an audit. And one thing I do is I go out there and I audit channels and I will spend days looking at the data. I'm a big advocate. The audience is talking back to you. What is the audience saying in the data? And you can apply that to your podcast on Apple or Spotify or on YouTube. The data is telling you something. So try to distill what the message is. Maybe you're not producing the right kind of content.
Mhm.
Maybe your content is too long.
Mhm.
Maybe you are not going about getting the right kind of guests as well. Because having the right guests, having the right topics, and playing to the moment are so key. Spend time on Google Trends to go see what the hot topics are. Start making a list of
Mhm.
things. And then use other services like vidIQ or TubeBuddy to go out there and, yeah, especially vidIQ, you can go see how folks are doing their channels elsewhere, right? What's working for them, what's
Mhm.
not, how they're growing. So you got to get a sense of the overall landscape. And if your channel isn't doing well, if it's not growing fast enough, maybe you're misreading what the landscape wants out there, what consumers want, and maybe it's time to hit the pause button and to rethink what you're actually doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to accept that. And I know some people listening might be thinking, "Oh, I'm that person." So I don't want you to, give up. Just give up. Don't give up. We're saying test it out first, figure out if there's a way to tweak and adjust because, I've seen some that are really popular in the AI industry, right? For
Mhm.
example, they
Mhm.
host events, they have podcasts, they're sharing clips, they're doing all the right things, but
Yep.
their channels are going absolutely nowhere. And it surprises me because it's AI. AI is so popular right now. So I've seen that quite a bit. I've also seen, where the inconsistency can hold people back. So, do you have a consistent recommendation for people, like how often they should post? Is there a method that you've noticed that works?
Yes. One thing just to
Yeah,
add about a channel that doesn't grow anymore.
yeah.
At Podfest, I actually met with someone who has a channel. He's been on YouTube for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And
Hmm.
he recently noticed that, boy, it's what's happening here. And he belongs to a church group. And I asked him, so what kind of community do you have around you?
Hmm.
How can you incorporate that community into your channel? And he said, yeah, I belong to this church group. And I said, why don't you start incorporating their reactions to your channel or gathering video, start featuring them and see how that does because they become evangelists for your channel. They will share, they will
I
talk
love
about the
that.
channel.
Mhm.
So he did too. He's like, that's a great idea. It's like, go try it out. Go see if
Yeah.
it works. Let other people work on your behalf to
Mm.
get the word out. And that's not just YouTube. That's Apple and Spotify too, right? With your podcast, I tell people, recommend, rate, review, recommend, right? It doesn't
Mhm.
help you with charting or anything, but it helps with engagement, especially the recommend part. If you can share your channel, if you can have someone share your channel or your podcast in general, that's winning half the battle because word of mouth still matters, yeah, out there in the podcast space. It really does. So take advantage of all the people you know, try to figure out how they can help you and grow your YouTube channel. At the end of the day, YouTube is very much a community thing, right? Think of all the things you could do. You could have several guests on at once. You
Mhm.
could do shorts with different people. You could do special series. You could do live events,
Mhm.
right? Think about all that stuff.
Yeah, and the live events, some people get discouraged because no one's there. Like I did a live and no one showed up. Your audience, they don't know you're gonna do a live. Like, you need to be doing it consistently. I'm
Hmm.
testing out going live on Fridays. I should be doing it today. I don't know if I am because I hate going live. Like, as we're recording this, it's January 23rd, it's a Friday, I should be live. But I'm one of those people who's like, "Well, I don't wanna go live and no one be there." But What I have found with lives is if you're consistent on when you pop up live, the audience will build, the audience will come. You just have to be there, you know? I had this one channel where they're leaning into the news, but not news. And whenever they posted on the news of the day as it was breaking news or went live, the audience showed up and they were able to find their people. It's all about trying to find the audience where they are and meet them where they're at, in my
Mhm.
opinion, on lives. But I'd love to hear your take on how to incorporate lives into your channel.
Yeah, and keep in mind, you can record the live and then still publish it, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
if you do that enough, people realize, "Oh, he just did a live session," right? Here's what I would recommend about doing lives. Experiment with time of day. YouTube is really taking over as the main way of living room time in some ways, right? Um, YouTube said recently that it was, I think, 700 million hours of video podcasts were streamed on TVs in October. 700 million. Okay, I'm a longtime journalist. I'm a bit skeptical. That sounds like holy cow kind of number.
It
Like
is.
it's like, okay, but the smart TV trend, you cannot deny. You cannot deny that. So there's something going on there. So maybe you do an 8 p.m. live.
Yeah, compete with Prime. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and see what else is going on. Maybe you reserve it for, a Sunday during the day after a big sporting event or something. The beauty of live is try to peg off of something else going on and tell people, hey, we're going to react to the
Mm-hmm.
big game, or we're going to react to the big news about X, Y, or Z. So why not try that? Experiment and see what works. But check the time of day function. On your YouTube channel, you can look at your heat map to see when people engage with your content. So take live out, experiment with times, and then take it from there. See
I
what
love
works.
that. Yeah. And you can also with the vidIQ, I'll have a link in the description to vidIQ, guys. I just got an affiliate link for them, so I'm excited to have it. But I will say I'll put a link down there. vidIQ shows you your times of like when to post. And you can click on this application in vidIQ and apply it to your video, and it will apply a suggested time that you should post. It's pretty cool on that
Yeah.
feature. So it's not something you'll get right away. Like you need to have your audience or you need to be posting for a while for vidIQ to really be effective, in my opinion. I think at first it's just like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
So you just need to you need to feed it, just like you have to feed the algorithm, in my opinion. But it's also about distribution. Some people see that their channel's not going anywhere and they're really not doing anything to get people there outside of YouTube. So do you ever work on that part with your clients, like how to get people to find you?
Yeah. If you have a newsletter,
Mhm.
promote the crap out of your YouTube channel on your newsletter, right? Um, if you have a website, embed your video there. Think of all the different, I like to think of it like being a madman pulling all the different levers out there. What
Mhm.
levers for promotion can you pull?
Mhm.
And make sure that you use every single lever you can to tell people about YouTube and
Yeah.
your YouTube channel, your podcast, whatever. The linkage, just it's important to link, and remind people. If you don't promote yourself, odds are no one else is.
Mhm.
So you have to learn how to be your own PT Barnum in many ways to get the word
Yeah.
out about the circus, right? So think along those ways. What can you do to promote yourself? And then I would make a list. What are 10 ways I could promote my YouTube channel?
Mhm.
And then go that way. The other thing I would say, check out your age and gender information.
Mm.
Figure out, what's the average age, and, how does the male versus female ratio look? Is it predominantly male? Is it female? And then start thinking about the content that
Mhm.
you could create to play to that demographic
Mhm.
information. And then try to think of ideas of how you can incorporate. The beauty of going live is if you could have someone monitor the comments and you could take questions from your audience and go that way. So if you have, maybe you have a YouTube channel geared toward women, maybe, with Women's History Month coming up each Wednesday at a certain time, you do
Mhm.
something on that and remind people about your channel. Look for those pegs out there to get people interested to come to your channel for for important moments. And you could, it starts with the data.
It
It
does,
really
and
does.
it also makes me think of, thinking like a producer. So I started that daily, John, because when we were at the Podfest, I had been thinking about doing a daily to really feed that algorithm.
Hmm.
And I was nervous about it, but then when I started to think about it, I already have a podcast called Think Like a Producer. So it was like, well, I could do Think Like a Producer daily and give tips I would give on social media that I only get 30 seconds to do and just make them into 5-minute, 8-minute long videos instead and actually share my opinion or thoughts on something.
Hmm.
So I'm trying, with that. But it is important that you're strategic and you think like, okay, how can I effectively show up on all these platforms to distribute and promote and make sure that I don't get burned out?
Hmm.
Right? Like, I may have the daily going up, but my thought right now is I'm gonna have a bunch of them going up, and then I'm gonna be writing a newsletter that's focusing on, I have all these resources for you. Here's the latest videos. And then I'm thinking I'll do social media posts later on, doesn't have to be right away. And I'll do posting to each one like, hey, you have a question? Go to my YouTube and I can show like the thumbnail above my head on social media. It's not with YouTube, it's long. You're looking at the long tail. Like, have anybody heard that, right? It's the long tail. It's the long game. You post the content there. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be sharing your social media that day, that moment. You could think about it, be strategic. It's there, right? The
Hmm.
other thing you could do is more of like a call her daddy scenario where you're building up in my thoughts, you're building up, right? Dropping little tips and tricks and teasing who your guest is or teasing what your episode's about. I highly recommend looking at the Call Her Daddy strategy. It's really great. It works well for well-known people, in my opinion, or
Hmm.
guests, but it can work for you. And then the other thought that I have on this that maybe you agree with or not is I'm thinking, and as we're talking, this is something I'm probably going to do, is start going live on other platforms and trying to solicit questions for the guests that I have.
Yep.
So before I was messaging people directly and saying, hey, do you have a question for my guest? Send me a video of you asking that question and I'll include it in the podcast.
Hmm.
Now, I loved this concept because to the point of what you gave the church goer who has the podcast, like incorporating your people, to me, it was like, great, I'll get people in, they'll want to promote it. They didn't, and that was the sad part. I was working my butt off and they didn't. It was just like they would comment on the post and be like, thanks for having me. It's like, no, 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 no. You need to share it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think going live might be more effective to then say, hey, who has questions, would love to get them and then mention them in the podcast.
Yeah.
But love your take.
If you have an editorial calendar, and everyone should,
Yep.
if you know in 3 weeks you're having a certain guest on, you should already be engaging on social media. Hey, coming up on, blah, blah, blah date. I'm talking to so and so. I'm starting to organize that episode now. Give me 2 questions you want me to ask.
Mm-hmm.
And do this far enough in advance that it gets into all the ether out there of social media. So people know here it
Yeah.
comes. Wow. Oh yeah. And do it that way too. That way you pre-promote the interview, right? You develop awareness. Hey, oh my God, that guy's coming up, right? And then after you drop the episode, think of what you can do with various clips, but maybe you do a recap
Mm-hmm.
of the interview. Hey, we talked to so and so. Oh my goodness. You won't believe what he said, right? So you're setting it up and then you're also promoting after the fact. So try the pre and post strategy out there. And then, see how it works. I know a lot of folks who love that. If you have the bandwidth, go do it. We all seem to be living on social media these days. So why not incorporate, you know, the planning and the promotion for future episodes as part of whatever you're doing on social?
Yeah. And the editorial calendar is also something journalists and producers do.
Mhm.
We map out a year and say these are all the big events that we have to watch out for. And what you may want to do for your niche is think about what are the big events that are coming up? What are the holidays that I may want to mention? And then your guests, and really you can start to create your content calendar around everything and be more effective and efficient and strategic.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you get the planning going, things start to fall into place. And you mentioned burnout before. If you are organized and you
Mhm.
have a plan, things will develop. Like the old Branch Rickey quote, "Luck is the residue of design." I'm a huge baseball fan. Maybe you can see from my background here. Baseball, baseball, baseball. Um, but that's from the Jackie Robinson um, story, right? The movie 42 in particular. Luck is the residue of design. So think about that too. Things will start to fall into place if you plan properly. And I'm not talking about planning for 2 days from now, but planning 2 weeks and even 2 months from now as you go about as a podcaster. And once you start doing that, you will go, I got this. I got this. I can do this.
Yeah. And it's so important, like that we have an episode on Unknown to Known where we talk about the burnout with Shira Lazar. She has a
Mhm.
creator report out on how so many creators are just getting burnt out, and it's not good for their mental health. And if you're feeling like, oh, this is overwhelming, I don't know if I can do it, check out that episode. She does give some tips on avoiding burnout, as well as what John just said on being organized. That can really help. The other thing that we have to talk about is, podcasters. They're going from audio to video, and a lot of them are struggling. They're trying to figure out, well, how do I start incorporating video? I had a conversation with Rob Greenlee on StreamYard's YouTube channel 2 years ago at this point about the surge of in video for podcasters and how they need to start thinking about incorporating video into it. Now, in all full transparency, guys, John and I decided to hop on and do a podcast without much preparation, right? Where normally, if you're having a guest and you're trying to incorporate videos, you may already have those ready and you can share them. If you're using Riverside, share them live so that they're being recorded and you don't have to edit as much later on.
Mhm.
That's a good way to really prepare and incorporate the video. You also want to make sure that you have lights and good audio. So, what tips have you been giving podcasters that are trying to transform,
Yeah.
recreate their process so that they include video?
Yeah, I've been talking about video for a bunch of years. Back in 2022 at
Mm,
Podcast Movement at that conference, I moderated a panel called Pivot to Video.
see?
And yeah, and look at everyone talks about pivot to video now. I've done a bunch of those panels
Mm,
at various conferences on video podcasting. I still consider myself an audio first guy. I
mhm.
think podcasting, and you look at some of the data out there, people often listen first.
Yeah.
It's audio first, but there's also this middle ground of what I call crossover consumption. And I think a lot of it has to do with what we're doing now in terms of maybe we go into the office on 3 days, but 2 days we're home. On those 2 days, we watch YouTube, but when we're in the car or on the train, those 3 days, we have our earbuds in and we're listening. And there's I think it's around 75, 76% are doing both,
Mhm.
so you have a lot of audio listening and then you have some video only viewing, but in that middle ground is that audio video world. And what I would tell people is video is not for everyone.
Mm,
And you got to think about, do you have the time? Do you have the money? Do you have the resources? Are you going to be producing quality content or is it going to look like, ugh, right? And you're going to put a lot of time and effort and probably money too, because you're going to have to figure out how you're going to edit the audio and video. And at the end of the day, is it making a difference for you? For some kinds of podcasts out there, video probably should be more for a promotional element, not for an editorial content element, right? So maybe you shouldn't have full episodes that are video,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean you shouldn't have a YouTube channel. You can still set up a YouTube channel. You can publish shorts. You could do a daily, here's what's going on in my world,
Hmm.
recording a vertical video. And then you could also exploit the live aspect of YouTube. Now you can also do collaborations on YouTube, working
Hmm.
with others. And then you can post, just like you can post on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, you can post now on YouTube to get the word out about. So think of all those different things. Maybe you're not doing that full length video because you can't afford it or you don't have time, but that doesn't mean you should not be exploiting all the fine
Hmm.
capabilities of YouTube as a
Yeah.
podcaster.
And like I mentioned Riverside, I'll have a link in the description to Riverside. I am an affiliate, but I don't think I get much. I don't think I've seen any money come in, but I do love it. And what I love about it is if you are going into that audio space, but you want video, it is now giving you magic clips. And these clips are about 3 sometimes to 10, 15 minutes long, and they're already edited with the AI edit. So it's a lot easier to kind of use those for YouTube in my opinion. If you have like an open you want to add or some music, makes it simplified. Um, but yeah, I think if you don't wanna spend too much money, and a lot of people entering it are coming to me and saying, "Okay, well, I want you to produce it, write all the scripts, edit it," and they don't realize how expensive that can get.
Hmm.
There are some organizations out there where you can say, "Okay, I wanna have you produce, um, a podcast for every month," and you can get those done with some groups in, like, a weekend, they'll crank them out for you, but it's a fee, and you really need to have a good call to action that makes it worth it, right? It's like you're
Yes.
not in those instances, I feel like you really need to be selling from a podcast.
Yeah. There's a lot of truth to that because if you don't do video correctly, if you don't figure out the YouTube process and how you could use YouTube for good,
Mhm.
you're going to end up burning out or you're going to end up going broke or both.
Yeah.
And and that gets back to the channel mission idea that I tell clients, what's your goal here? Give me 4 sentences. Tell me what your goal is, why you're starting a YouTube channel. Just lay it out there. Tell me. So you have to be organized. It's not something you just turn on and go do. Put some thought into it, put some planning into it, create a budget. How much can you realistically afford to spend? You know, and then the other thing is AI is making life better for creation.
Mhm.
I'm not afraid of AI. I think AI can be harnessed for good. And you're seeing that with so many different programs out there, whether it is Riverside or Headliner or Opus Clip. There are some great ways to generate video you using AI really as like your Sherpa out there to guide
Mhm.
you along and create it and help you out.
Yeah. And, I'll always tell people I mentioned a little bit about the lights and mics, like, do some research. I have a link that you guys can use that has, like, a suggested items that I use that I love, but I think it's really important that when you do turn to video, that you have a set place in your home or a setup that's really mobile that can help you pop on camera whenever you need and
Mhm,
you're doing it lit and effectively, right? So you want to really make sure that it's low budget, mobile, and easy for you to be consistent.
mhm,
Showing up on camera can be really hard for people. And I know that there's like some confidence over people sometimes have to gain that confidence, right? To be on camera. But in this era, you really need it. And I do believe that there's a place for audio only. Um, but if you're starting out, You kind of need to be on camera to build that know, like, and trust. So I wanted to get some last thoughts from you, John, on just helping people show up and take charge on YouTube. I want to break away from this to let you know about the visibility program. I launched on Cam Ready a few years ago, and I had a vision for it. Yeah, I was going to do contract work as a producer, and I did. I worked on live events and large shows. I worked at BET, and it was a wonderful time continuing to produce in different ways. But then I started to think I really wanted to apply myself to professionals, which is why I've really redirected this YouTube channel. And now I'm offering a visibility program where you can learn how to show up online strategically across your social media platforms. I give you AI prompts to help you create B-roll, script ideas, and I even give you some basic tips on how to edit in CapCut. Plus, if you want press, I give you a strategy that will help you avoid burnout. It's what I call the news wheel, and you can rotate your content just like we would in a television news show. You can learn more on my website on camready.com. Now back to the conversation.
Yeah. The first thing is, and you said this earlier, don't give up. Do not give up.
Yeah.
And people do throw in the towel. Why? You've made all this effort before creating content. Rather than give up, hit the pause button. No one's going to take you to task because you decided to go on hiatus for 3 weeks to try to regroup and reassess things, right? So have a plan, know what you're doing to begin with, come up with some markers you want to hit, and then once maybe you do, I'm a big fan of 30, 60, 90-day plans. Come up with 30, 60, 90. What do you want to accomplish each month along the way, right? Then assess after 90 days, where are we? What are we doing, right? Do we hit our goals?
Yeah.
And your goals don't have to be lofty. Can I hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube? Can I get to X number of watch hours? Can I get my average view duration up to 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Right?
Can I get my click-through rate above 1?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Click-through rates, can you get between like 2 to 3%? Because that shows you're reaching out to new folks. New folks are finding you. Your more loyal fans, if you have like 5 or 6% as a click-through rate, it means, hey, mom and dad are clicking. All right, mom and dad.
Click-through rate, I'm always like, if it's a 5 or 6, we're in. We're in.
Yes. Yep. But oh my gosh, I see click-through rates of like, 0.9. Like, oh,
You're like, what? And but that's a thing that people need to be looking at. Like, guys, look at your click-through rate. They don't know to look through, John. And so I'm really glad we got to nerd out a little bit on the click-through rate, because it's important that people look there and check those data, data
absolutely.
points out.
Yeah.
So how can people connect with you, John?
You can connect with me by going to johnwordockmedia.com, and you can go to the contact page there and drop me a note. You can also go to LinkedIn, and it's Wordock. I used to joke that Wordock is Polish for overworked, underpaid journalist. And when I give speeches, I get laughs that way, but it's Wordock. Reach out, drop me a note. Happy to chat.
And I'll make sure that that's all linked below. Thank you so much, John. I'm glad we could pop on and do this.
This was fun.
I'm so glad John could join us. Now, if you are listening to this and you love the concept, check out my YouTube channel if you're not already there. On my YouTube channel, I give tutorials on how to use Riverside. I also share my daily thoughts on how to think like a producer. It's called Think Like a Producer Daily. In addition to that, I have another podcast. It's called Think Like a Producer, to help you navigate this new media space with the tips and tricks that really help anchors and producers shine online and on television. I'm going to start expanding to also offer media training to help you when you do start to become noticed. The goal is to be by your side on your journey from unknown to known. And I'm doing that most on YouTube and on Substack. I'll make sure to provide those links in the description. Now stick around. There's another episode of Unknown to Known that you can check out. I'll see you guys. Bye.